Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So this seems to be a very popular topic on YouTube. I've been getting a lot of similar video recommendations, people talking about how society in general and how people in general have just completely lost it, completely have become completely rude and intolerable for the most part. How toxic is the word people have become. The majority of people have become. And I definitely agree with this sentiment. I can tell you, working, jobs in the past where I had to deal with a lot of customers, right? Where the bulk of the work was customer based, right? I had to interact with people for the majority of the time that I was working, right? And even from my day-to-day life, I can tell you that I've definitely had a lot of negative experiences with, dealing with this sort of behavior just from random people. So I definitely agree. Something has definitely shifted in people. And for the most part, people have just become super rude, aggressive, intolerable, right? Or intolerable to deal with. And just very toxic, right? The origins of this, we can't, or at least I don't think we can pinpoint it to one specific thing. I think it's just an accumulation of factors, right? Here in the Western world, in America specifically, the job market is terrible. The prices of everything just seems to be going up. Rent, groceries, right? Fast food is like $20 for one person. The price of living in general has just completely gone up. Not to mention all the stress associated with finances, right? All the trash media that keeps feeding people's brains, all this negative programming, right? All that stuff is emotionally charged, and it's supposed to trigger something in you, right? An emotional reaction out of you. The news media is not there to educate you or to enlighten you on the truths of the world, right? And stuff like that. It's meant to control you and shape the way that you think. So all these factors come together, and you can see the resulting, the results that come from this. Aggressive people on the edge, people that just get super triggered over the smallest details. That's how it seems to be these days, right? If you are an inconvenience in any shape or form, or you just trigger in the slightest, if you trigger someone in the slightest, they just completely go off on you, and they have a very, emotional reaction towards you. People are just very impatient these days. Just the other day, I was at a recycling station, right? And I was in line. And this person that was in line, in front of me, he was completely losing it on the poor lady, behind the desk, because she was asking him for ID in order to process the, recycling that he had to do, because it was, how, copper theft is pretty common, people stealing stuff. So she was just trying to, I guess, do her job, right? And this guy completely went off on her, and he was just a complete a-hole to her all because she asked for an ID. The other week, or about 2 weeks ago, I remember vividly, I was on my way to the grocery store, and I was about to make a left turn, right? I was on the left turn lane, and there was a gas station to my right, and the opposite traffic was obviously to my right side, right? So the incoming traffic was to my right, and the gas station was also to my right. And there was this lady pulling out of the gas station, and she wanted to go in the opposite direction that I was going in, right? And she wanted to turn to a parking lot, because there was this little I guess plaza full of stores that was to my left, right? Which was completely against the flow of traffic. And she literally got into the opposite, into the opposite lane of traffic. And again, driving against traffic just to cut basically 3 lines of traffic to get into this parking, into this parking line, to this little plaza, driving like it was fucking GTA 5, right? In complete disregard, right? Just complete stupidity and just complete selfishness, to just be able to do this, right? I was like in complete shock that this lady was doing this, just no consideration for other people around her, just complete self-absorbed behavior, right? It blew my mind when I saw this. And the amount of instances that I've been dealing with and that I've been observing, this sort of behavior from people, just when I go out, it has gone up tremendously. It's skyrocketed, literally, not to exaggerate or anything. I'm sure you can probably relate to what I'm saying here, right? So, unfriendly people, triggered people just seem to be looking for any sort of inconvenience to go off on you, right? They're looking for a fight. They're looking to just start things with you for no reason. And it's getting rarer to find people that are the opposite, right? That are just normal, well-educated people that have manners and that know how to talk to others. It's like we have an epidemic of adults, so-called adults, stuck in children's bodies, right? Stuck in entitled teenager bodies that have completely lost it, have completely lost their ability to communicate with other people. And if you've dealt with this, if you can relate to this, I would encourage you to never fall into that line of behavior or that line of thinking where, you become like the people that treat you poorly. If you come across these sort of people, the best thing that you can do is to not let it get to you, or to let it, just let it slide off of you as much as you can. I know it can be a bit difficult, especially if you have a job, like I said, that has to do with, customer service or dealing with people as a whole for the majority of your work, right? I know it can be a bit tricky, but it can help you out regardless of where you are, right? I've found that this really helps to just completely detach from their behavior and realize that their behavior is their behavior. And at the end of the day, you're in charge of your reactions, right? You're in charge of how you deal with it. Of course, nobody likes to be treated, that way. It sucks when somebody treats you that way. You have you're left with a weird feeling, right? You're left with a feeling, just feeling very kind of surprised, and just that feeling in your gut when somebody treats you poorly for no reason. Nobody likes to be treated that way, but just know that you never have to become like those people, right? Those people, the good and the bad that you do, right? If you put out good energy into the world, it will always come back to you. But, I found that this is a very, helpful way of dealing with this sort of issue. If I had to put a number on it, it would probably be, no exaggeration, 80% of people these days, it seems to fall into that category, right? And 10% or 15% of people are just normal, right? And then there's that special 5 to 10% of people that are just angels to deal with, that are just completely sweet people and just normal people, right? And that have actual values and decency about them. So never become like those people that treat you poorly. Always put out, good feelings, good emotions into the world. Always treat others the way you want to be treated. Because at the end of the day, we know that that's the right thing to do, right? So hopefully, if you listen this far, something that I mentioned is of value to you. Let me know your own personal stories in the comments below. I'm sure, a lot of people can relate to what I'm saying. And like I said, this definitely seems to be a very common theme nowadays amongst society, amongst people. Just people becoming super aggressive, super unfriendly, just rude to deal with, right? So let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.